Smalltalk roadmap. My name is Arden Thomas. I'm the Cincom Smalltalk product manager. I'm really excited to be here and really excited to tell you about what's new in our products. I really look forward each year to kind of summarizing all the progress that we've made and what's been going on. And for those, I know there was a number of people that are new to ESOB this year, so I'll try to, we'll be covering plenty of what's happened in the past, present, and what's going on in the future in the products. Cincom, if you're not familiar, is the largest commercial provider of Smalltalk. We have a lot of people like yourselves very passionate about Smalltalk, and we employ both directly and indirectly a lot of Smalltalkers. So we're really proud of that. We'll tell you about some of the other talks from Cincomers, a little perspective on product management. I'll spend most of the time talking about what's going on in our products, changes in the recent past, present being upcoming releases like imminent releases, and a little bit about Smalltalk advocacy. So first, our Cincom talks. This is the Cincom Smalltalk roadmap. Later we'll be hearing from Jerry about HTTP2 support. So we've added HTTP2 support to the product, and he'll discuss how you can use that, how you can build a SUE HTTP server using that. Next, Vlad will be discussing some enhancements for JavaScript in our Apex framework. You see terms like Apex and SUE here. I'll be discussing those a little more in detail later, what those are. And then later, Jerry will be talking about security enhancements. Anybody building a Smalltalk application that touches the web or communicates over the web is concerned, as they should be, about security. So we keep up with advancements in security, and we're happy to tell you all about the latest additions to the product. I mentioned I'm the Cincom Smalltalk product manager. A little bit about that. Some of our goals in product management, we want to keep our products current. And note that even if we wanted to make no new features in our products, we'd need to update them to handle new operating systems, new standards that come out. But the biggest driving factor in new work in our product is customer needs. Thank you for that. One of the things we spend a lot of time, when I say we, I mean Suzanne Fortman, who's the director of Smalltalk, and we go out and visit a lot of customers, and we call these listening sessions. The customer often wants to see information like this about what's going on in the product, what's changed, but we're there primarily to listen. We want to understand how they use the product, any issues that they're dealing with, and especially what requirements that they see for the upcoming future to drive the changes in our products. So that's the primary driver of the changes and new features in the product is what customers tell us. So it's really important to us. We also try to get customers involved, a lot of times with enhancements. We have weekly builds that we make available through a developer program, and often we work with a customer. We'll be developing a new feature, have the customer test it, and give us immediate feedback. And we see those as a win-win, because when we're done, we know it's what the customer needs, and the customer knows that they can immediately begin to use that feature or capability. What we want to avoid, and what this helps to avoid, is us delivering a new feature and the customer saying, that's exactly what I asked for, but not what I need. It missed somehow. So we like that feedback loop of customer communication and involvement. Also, we've had a number of startup customers recently who go to the product, become a customer, and start delivering a product, and we try to get them some exposure with customer user stories about what their product does, how they've had success with Smalltalk. And again, it's a win-win. They get information about their new product out there, and we get to portray another success using Smalltalk. Another way we get some information is doing product manager mini surveys. So we get the information, a brief survey out to get some information about a new feature or interest or how people are using the product from customers and developers. Another thing that we really take very seriously is attracting new customers to Smalltalk. You know, we're a tight community, but we need to bring in new people and grow the Smalltalk community. I think that's probably of interest to everyone here and very important to us. Some product management themes that have been developed over time. One is called a flow. And you may have heard that term or be familiar. Flow state or in the zone is kind of a heightened state of focus and awareness where focus and productivity goes off the charts. You'll often see this in context with types of sports where it can even be a life or death situation, and they need maximum performance. Well, we want to bring that maximum performance and productivity. Smalltalk is renowned for its productivity. We want to leverage that as much as we can and improve it where we can by being attentive to that. So we want to try to continue improving the productivity for Smalltalk. Another theme is API. From talking to lots of customers over the years, one of the big advantages of Smalltalk is, of course, it ships, the whole environment is written in Smalltalk. That gives users of Smalltalk a lot of power. What they do with that is customize the tools, the environment, their workflow, customize their widgets to be exactly what they want and what they need. And most of it, we take it for granted, but most environments simply do not offer that level of customizability. So customers take advantage of that. They streamline, make the workflow exactly what they need. So we recognize that people will want to use those APIs to allow that to happen. So any new things we build, things that we revamp, we're aware of this need of Smalltalk customers. And if you know of areas that you'd like to see a better API or is really important to you, please tell us. Another area is compatibility and upgrading. Sometimes we joke that the ideal situation is we improve and we modernize and we upgrade our product, but don't make any changes. Don't change anything. Do that, but don't change anything. And we know porting to a new version, especially when you've got a massive code base, it can be a lot of work. We're aware of that. We try to make it as compatible as possible. That may not be 100% compatibility because you may need some changes in order to get to a new level of capability in the product that's necessary. But we want customers to be on the latest release or as new as possible because it minimizes their risk. They're on a current supported version. They're with the current compilers and availability for operating system features. By being on a current release, it makes it better for us and for them. Product manager mantra to our engineering team is always, if you make the customer change their code, make it worth it. One of the things before coming back to Cincom years ago, I worked as a developer for a hedge fund. All their major systems were written in VisualWorks. And when we wanted to upgrade to a new version, the first thing management asked was, what do we get out of that? And what I'm about to tell you is probably obvious when you hear it, but especially new developers, please note this. When you go to management and tell them you want to upgrade to a new version, they're going to say, what do we get from this? The wrong answer is, well, nothing, we're just on the current version. We'll get no benefits. They'll say, well, then forget it. Wait till some other time. They want to hear a benefit. So every release, we come out with a long list of release notes and what's improved, what's changed, what performances improved, what feature benefits. So when you go to your management, please do your homework. When they say, well, what do we get out of this? Say, oh, this new feature that we asked them for, the performance in this area, they fix bugs in this, we get a whole number. And this new feature lets us add this capability to our products. So have that list of benefits. Then it's a much easier conversation for you to have with your management as a developer. Performance. We're aware performance is important to our customers. So as we're touching things, changing things, we're going to make sure that we don't negatively impact performance and improve it if we can. And of course, you may know that we have things like polycephaly and matrix that let you do coarse-grained concurrency very easily with the product. And that's a big benefit to performance. Legacy items. We have a list at the link at the bottom of our legacy items, and those are things that are outdated, antiquated, have been replaced, things that we won't enhance, but we often ship with the product because our customers either want more time to move to the newer thing, they want to support the old framework themselves, or they just want to use it longer. So we make it available, but we make it clear that we're not going to continue working on those. We want to make sure that we use our resources to work on the things that our customers need the most. So let's get to the products, the real meat. We have two Smalltalk products, Object Studios, which is a Windows-centric product. We think of it as the business analyst thinking tool. It has a number of tools that support, say, a business analyst and a developer working together to develop an application or a suite of applications. And VisualWorks is our multilingual, cross-platform, do-anything product. Both of our products use the same foundation. So most of the work that we do, we try to put into the foundation, and it benefits both products immediately. So we get more bang for the buck and more benefit for ourselves and for our customers by investing in the foundation. So especially if you're unfamiliar with the products, or just a refresher, some things that have changed in mostly the recent past. A couple large things from a little farther back, but what have we worked on? Well, not too long ago we began version 2 changes, and these represent revamping some areas that were really important and needed attention, especially in order to do more future things. So what were some of those version 2 changes? Text 2 is a big one. I always like to say, if you take something that's used everywhere in the product, like text, and improve it, you've improved everywhere in the product, which is a pretty good thing. Text 2 does a whole lot of things that our old text did not do, including some neat things like spark lines, being able to support bidirectional text for some international languages, better alignment, better sizing, better scaling, all those things. It was kind of our basis for a lot of new things going forward. It was a lot of work. It's very, very capable. Autocomplete 2. When we introduced text 2, we introduced a very rudimentary type of autocomplete, and we later followed that up with Autocomplete 2. And it's Smalltalk aware. It really is I really enjoy using it. It does all the things that you expect. I mentioned it's Smalltalk aware. It has an API, so you can do a whole lot with this. Source Code Editor 2. So Source Code Editor 2 uses a number of new things. It uses text 2. It uses Autocomplete 2. It has theming support, and there's a number of built-in themes in the product, including dark themes, light themes. Those themes, you can write your own theme. And what does the theme do? It allows you to colorize based on the context of what you're looking at in your Smalltalk. Lets you change the colors, the size of the font, even for things like nested parentheses. You can change things like how bold it is for seeing which level you're at. So a lot of really neat things. You can look at that. You can build your own custom version if you don't love one of the ones that's already there. We have some pretty good ones as default. It has an API. If you say have a domain-specific language that you build and support, you can support that domain-specific language with a theme and with things like autocomplete. So we have that API for supporting those things with the new work. Another big area that we changed, for years, we heard feedback from customers saying, better look and feel, better host fidelity. So the big change there was look and feel 2, also known as UI skinning. And what that does on Mac OS and Windows, it uses the native operating system to render your widgets. So you still have the customizability of the widgets in Smalltalk, but you have the look of the host platform, and that looks really nice. But with the old framework, it was getting rather large and cumbersome and kind of spread out, kind of ugly. So we basically revamped that entire framework, came up with something much more compact, flexible, and capable. And we recognized with the old framework, some customers liked some things about it, like being able to have the Windows look on any platform. So we built an emulated Windows look that you can use. So say if you're running over Citrix or running on a Unix or Linux platform, you can make it look like Windows for that requirement, if you have that requirement, and a number of our customers do. Another neat thing that we threw in there was there's a red and green skin that you can use. So for example, if you're developing with 3 images open, you can have one with the host look, one red and one green. Anytime you go to a window, you immediately know which image it's from. And that can be really important for some work with multiple images. We've made browser enhancements. There's forward and backward keys in the browser, just like using a web browser. There's also, this is kind of the bottom one here, is kind of meets the flow, improvement towards flow, what I was talking about earlier. Say you see a method in a method call on a method, and you go to all the implementers of that, and then from the implementer list you go to that implementation in the class. Okay, that's a couple jumps to where you want to get to. If it knows the class implementer in the context, or if there's only one, you can go directly to viewing that method in the class context, which is often where you want to get to. So that saves time. Rather than 2 jumps, directly there. You stay in the flow. Smalltalk always lets you operate at the leading edge of consciousness. It's one of the reasons it's just so addictive. In the past, we've done a number of VM improvements, Unicode Windows VMs. We revamped and greatly improved our 64-bit VMs, introduced a Windows 64-bit VM, which a lot of people use. We made improvements in our garbage collection. Some other things we did were alternatives to delay for some specific needs. Atomic loading as part of store, load it all at once. We also upgraded the build chain. That's largely compilers and the work process to build a VM on these platforms. Another thing, it was mostly renamed. It was VisualWorks 1.15. If you knew the old one, it's now a better name, XL for Extended Loader. And if you're on a developer program and you get weekly builds and you install those builds, when you click on an image, you want to use the right VM, you want the right settings for your home directory. Well, the Extended Loader lets you do that. So if you're part of if you have lots of versions installed, or you're part of our developer program, I recommend you check out the Extended Loader. It comes with the product. And that works on Windows, Unix, and Linux. In the past, some big foundation improvements. We've revamped our COM framework, introduced COM64, a desktop launcher, the icon on the Windows and Mac OS desktop does something very useful. You can use that. We continue to make a lot of enhancements to GLORP, generalized lightweight object relational persistence, with each release. So earlier I mentioned SUE and Apex. What are they? They both have a capital X at the end, which means they use the Xstreams streaming protocol, which is some open source work done by Cincomers. SUE is an HTTP server that replaced several old ones. So we had it kind of spread out and developed over time, kind of organically, with multiple HTTP servers. Each was a little different and better at one thing. So we wanted to replace all those with one that was better than all the others as our platform going forward. So you can use SUE for working with Apex or Seaside, for example, or whatever you use the old ones for, you can replace that with SUE. Apex, I love the story behind Apex. The creator of Seaside, Avi Bryant, years ago, he gave a keynote and he said, okay, a decade and a half later, if I was starting Seaside over, how would I architect that differently with technology that didn't exist back then? And that's basically the architecture of Apex. And that's not to ding Seaside at all. We love both, and we provide you some different alternatives, but Apex lets you use any JavaScript library and easily integrate into your Smalltalk domains. And we've been continuing to move this forward and does some really nice things, and you'll see some of that in Vlad's talk, and you'll learn about HTTP2 support for SUE in one of Jerry's talks. I mentioned we had feedback from customers. Some of the feedback we got from customers was, there's this Active Directory contributed item called LDAP. We use it, we need it, it's important to us. Can you make that supported, and can you make it a little better? So we improved it, moved it to supported, and also came out with a secure version as well. in the recent past. For authorization protocols, we had direct requests from customers for Linux ham support and OAuth 2.0 supported, and that's used by Facebook, Twitter, Google. Object Studio, that's the Windows-centric product. The big move there was the next generation UI, and that's a re-architecture to really focus on letting you access all that Windows has to offer. Also, a big recent thing was the new launcher that focuses on convenience and productivity, and I still believe Object Studio is the only Windows 10 certified Smalltalk. So that brings us to the present. And when I talk about the present, we have an imminent product release of our two products. So let's talk about what's in the new release. So on deck for introduction, and as I wrote this, I thought, wait a second, on deck. On deck is a sports idiom, and it comes from baseball, and I know baseball is not as big in Europe as it is obviously in the United States. So on deck, different than the meaning for naval on deck, all hands on deck, it's different. On deck in baseball, basically, the person who's on deck is the batter who's up next. So basically means up next. I was trying to find a good sports analogy for maybe a major sport in Europe. I couldn't find an analogous one, but I just thought I'd point that out for fun. So on deck for introduction, Object Studio 8.9 and VisualWorks 8.3. So we've got a number of new things in these products. Some of our VM work has stagnated a little bit, but we've kind of really got that restarted and going more aggressively recently. So we've got new VMs with this release. We have, for Mac OS, we have a 64-bit version. We have a 32-bit with Retina display support. And we have a PowerPC, 64-bit PowerPC VM for Linux as new supported VMs this release. We also have some new preview VMs, AIX64, Linux ARM, which is specifically targeted for the Raspberry Pi, very low-cost introduction to computing this. I think most people here are aware of. One of the things that was missing from our 64-bit VMs is perm space capability, like our 32-bit. And it was important to get that. It's now in preview. I've been using it. It works. It's very solid, but we want to get more feedback from customers to make sure it's 110% solid for them. We also have, with lots of high-resolution displays, some high DPI work for Windows that you can check out by loading a parcel in preview. Another big feature with this release is HTTP2 support. So HTTP2 is a major revision of HTTP. It tends towards better, sometimes much better performance. Noted in one of the PM themes is performance. Major browsers all support it. Last year at this time I checked, it was about half this number, but I checked currently about 15.9% of all websites worldwide support HTTP2 now. It was about half that a year ago. So you can do better things like server push. We're going to show you in another one of our talks how to use Sue to create an HTTP2 server in Smalltalk. We've introduced help too. I'll talk more about that next slide. We've been working on some layout foundation work. A lot of this is preparation for Painter 2, which is another new piece of version 2 item that we're working on for the future. And text 2, bidirectional support work for bidirectional languages. Okay, help 2 uses the DITA, and that's Darwin Information Typing Architecture. It's an open standard, and we basically took out the old proprietary work and replaced that with this modern open standard. It's used in our IDE for the new release, and you can also use it for your applications for help support. It's nice, clean, and modern. In Tools GUI, we've been making a number of refinements. We introduced the new UI skinning. We've been getting feedback from customers about what things are important, what issues they're having, and how we can make migration efforts easier for customers. So we've been making refinements in things like font selection, widget sizing, and some fixes to make that effort easier. For Store, we've been continuing to improve performance. This release, we've improved loading performance by supporting for Store recursive blob, and that's binary large objects, where we have them and use them. So instead of making many calls, you can make one call that recursively loads it all in. That can have a significant performance benefit. So over time, we've been trying to share more and more between the two products. We move both products to a common COM, both run on the foundation, and we've been working towards making that foundation larger over time. So we get a lot of shared efforts. So this has been the sharing, and we've been trying to make that what's shared larger and larger. Now the next release, the plan had been basically next release would be version 9 for both products. So we have Object Studio 9, it's up to 8.9, so not too much of a jump, and VisualWorks moving to 9 to basically move them in sync. And we thought about that, okay, that would be nice moving the product numbers together, but with this sharing and moving the products closer together, can we do better? Can we do something better? And we thought of a way to make it simpler still. Basically moving them to a single product, version 9. So that is the goal for next major release, moving to a single combined powerful product, version 9. It's kind of been the direction we've been moving towards the more and more sharing, so this just pushes us the final way. So what things are we considering? I mean, that's a big one. Combined product is a big change that we're very excited about. Some other future directions, I'll talk about each of these individually here. Incremental improvements. Keep improving it, but don't change anything. But we want to make sure that we make it easy as possible to port to. We know that's important to our customers. We want to continue to modernize the product. We're going to continue those version 2 upgrades. I mentioned things like Painter 2. We're going to have a new, we've been building infrastructure towards that goal of having a very powerful, capable new Painter And it was already planned that new painter would be used by both products. So we've been moving towards that single product. We'll continue to modernize as we have been. We've done things like TLS, HTTP2, browser productivity improvements. We're continuing to modernize our Smalltalk products. Customer needs. Often these are really difficult to anticipate. Sometimes I've been asked in the past for, what's your 5-year plan? And the 5-year plan is, well, first, some things we don't want to advertise, and second, some things that we're happy to tell customers. But most of the things that we look back at, things that we're doing now and say, did we know about this 5 years ago? And the answer is no. Either they didn't exist, or it wasn't important to our customers. So it's a tighter cycle. And that's why feedback from our customers is so important. We want to know what they see coming up as a requirement and what's really important to them. And you can't guess those things 5 years ahead of time, because they might not even exist yet. Productivity, I mentioned flow state. Taking that productivity and operating in Smalltalk, just continuing to leverage and improve that productivity in Smalltalk. We also know API is a big part of customers' use. Getting that flow by customizing their Smalltalk products. If you've ever worked at IBM or read any IBM documents, this is just a small piece of humor. So Smalltalk advocacy. We think, as I mentioned, growing the Smalltalk community is really important. So one of the things we want to do is get the word out on Smalltalk and this addictive interactiveness and productivity. And that always reminds me of a story. There's a story of a heart surgeon. And this heart surgeon, one of his hobbies is motorcycle riding. He has a Harley Davidson, a big American motorcycle. And one day he takes his motorcycle to his mechanic. And the mechanic's working on the engine for him, and they're having a conversation. And the mechanic says, you know, you're a heart surgeon. The heart is basically a pump with valves, and you operate on that. And he says, and I work on a motorcycle engine, which is basically a pump with valves. So we do a similar thing. He says, but you get paid so much more than I do. Why do you think that is? And the heart surgeon, without missing a beat, he looks down at the engine, then he looks at the mechanic, he says, try working on that while it's running. Okay. So there's the difference. Operating on that while it's running is very difficult. But it's something that Smalltalk makes easy. It did a lot of difficult work to make that really easy. And it gives us great benefits. It gives us that interactivity of operating at the leading edge of your thoughts and not slowing you down. If you're slowed down, you can get back, oh no, where was I? What was I thinking? With Smalltalk, of course, you can just continue. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, let me check this result, that's wrong. Change the code, compile it, retest it. Boom, 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 immediately. We take it for granted. It's part of the addictive nature of Smalltalk, operating on it while it's running. We want to continue to get that word out. We get the word out. We also have a monthly digest to keep everyone engaged. People that have been using it, brand new people that we're bringing in. while back, one of our engineers and his wife, Jerry and Elena, who are here, entered a competition. And they used VisualWorks, Apex, and Sue as their competitive stack. They competed against 150 team entries, many of those companies, groups, larger groups that were sponsored and provided by companies. And they got second place out of 150 teams with their Smalltalk-based entry. So that's one of the things, taking Smalltalk and showing how powerful and capable it is to people who are not familiar with it. And that's what we're trying to do. There's a neat web video where you can see the final, is the old video game, Battle Snakes. It's pretty fun to watch the video. The Stack Overflow Developer Survey. Back in 2015, I saw that there was a developer survey, Stack Overflow, and it was really interesting, had a lot of great information in it. Smalltalk had 0 mentions in this developer survey. And this developer survey in 2015 was taken by over 26,000 developers in 157 countries. Pretty broad reach. I was disappointed, somewhat alarmed, no mention of Smalltalk. So I had an action item. Let's change this for the following year. So moving to 2016, good news, bad news scenario. We got the word out, but the survey closed fairly quickly. So we got some in the Smalltalk community were able to do the survey and mention that they used Smalltalk and how wonderful Smalltalk was to them. But it closed quickly. So Smalltalk was listed in the survey. And it had a small but kind thing said about it. So rather than seeing that as a defeat or disappointment, I thought it was a great opportunity. 0 to some mention to more mention would definitely show a positive growth trend and get the Smalltalk word out to more people. So I just saw that as a wonderful opportunity. So 2017, we got the word out as soon as we possibly could. We had more participation, and by this year, it was over 60,000 participants for this survey. 60,000, so that's more than double what it was 2 years prior to that. So it's been growing, has a big reach. And the nice thing was that out of most loved languages, Smalltalk got number 2 on the most loved language, reaching out to over 60,000 developers worldwide. So we want to get into some of those places where there aren't any Smalltalkers. Get the word out that there's this thing called Smalltalk, and a lot of people think very highly of it. Hopefully that puts it on more people's radar and they check it out. So no, Smalltalk advocacy is very important to all of us. Yes, Anik?
What was the first one?
Rust.
Rust, yes. Rust never sleeps.
That's a fab. It's going to be done next week.
If you have any feedback for us, if you want to tell us what we can improve in the product, especially, please let us know. Anything to do with the product. Suzanne is the director, runs engineering, runs support. Any feedback? She's right. She'll be here all week. The product manager. Anything to do with the product? Any suggestions? Please talk to me. I'd love to hear those ideas. This is our marketing guy, Jeremy. Okay, no, not actually, but I have to throw that in there for you. Sorry, Jeremy. Any questions?
Okay, probably you expect this question. So Widgetry was abandoned about 10 years ago.
Yes.
And at that time, a nice new grid was promised. So what is the status of the grid after 10 years?
Nice new what?
The grid table widget.
One of the things that's been on my product manager list, it's taken longer than I want, but it's still very visible and very important to me for work, is the Dataset 2. We've been getting lots of feedback about what people want for that next generation data set, and there's been some pieces still getting into place. It's taken longer than we want, but it's still on the list, still a high priority, and I hope to have it as soon as possible.
Another 10 years?
Well, hopefully not. I mean, one of the things, even with some of the stuff, was the porting effort that the other framework you mentioned would have been a non-starter for a lot of our customers. But we kind of want to make those improvements while making it reasonable to port to. But yeah, I agree with you. That's one of the things that I want, and it's a high priority on my list. Absolutely.
I have this question about having skinning with white and black.
I was trying to get a skinning with white and black and could not achieve it.
The
Skinning with white and black instead of black and white.
black and white skin. Okay. Contact me afterwards. We can follow up with this. I remember hearing some of that. I didn't know how that progressed, but sure, we can talk about that. Try to get you some assistance or guidance on how to do that properly. Any more questions?
I have a question about offline version history. Would that be possible? I mean, because if you work with a remote database and you want to compare two versions from the past, it has to load everything. So is there a solution to that?
Are you about comparing release to release?
Yes, so if you improve a package and you want to compare with the current version.
So if I understand correctly, for a new release where a package has changed, how can you compare those? The way we recommend doing that is to from the old version, publish the package in store, and then you can compare and see exactly what is changed and what is new and what is no longer in it with the comparison tool.
Okay, but I mean, if there's a big bundle, it has to load everything.
Yes.
But in Git, everything will be stored locally. So maybe there's a way to load everything locally, like a local database or something.
It's actually a future enhancement that we are looking at. One final thing I should mention is we obviously have a commercial Smalltalk. We also have a personal use. If you want to learn or look at our products, it's called the PUL version. If your developer wants to check that out, you're able to download that and check out the product and hopefully become a customer. Thank you very much.